Hey, everybody, and welcome to whatever the hell this is. Working title Absolute Casuals. I'm Matt, and this is my buddy Dan. Hey, Dan.
Hello.
We are trying something new this week. For those people who follow my stream or do something else, you guys know that I am a Magic player, and I play Magic with a bunch of people, including Dan. And I decided that I wanted to spend more time talking about this game. And you guys might know my other podcast, Unlimited Commander, which you should go watch if you have a chance. That is me and my buddy Adams focused on unlimited formats and turning them into Commander and finding ways to like meld those two things together. This is just going to be whatever kind of weird magic stuff is on my mind or Dan's mind, just kind of doing our own thing. So this is going to be a little more free floaty. It's not going to be as structured, but it's also going to be me going off the deep end every once in a while. So stay tuned for that.
Can I go up the deep end too?
Oh man, always, always. Oh, in fact,
Nice,
that's
sweet.
why you're here.
Oh, okay, sweet, awesome. I'm
So
the chaos component, I guess, huh?
right? I mean, so the reason why I asked Dan on to do this with me is because I think that overall, you and I are pretty simpatico when it comes to magic opinions. Like, not necessarily fully agree on everything, but we're close enough that the arguments are interesting, not terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got plenty of friends that I could have called on for hot takes on magic that I would have just been, shut up! I hate you. But I think that we're close enough in range of each other that we're not going to lose our minds on each other. But when we do disagree, it'll at least give people like actual things to think about. You know, my goal with this is there is no nuance on the internet, and I'd like to fix that. So here comes nuance on the internet, baby. So we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to go sideways a lot. And on this first bit, I wanted to discuss philosophies of Commander. And I've thrown up Vault Boy Cap Collector as our opening screenshot to kind of juxtapose the idea of philosophies on Commander, because I didn't realize how much my ideas on how to play this game had changed until I started teaching new people again. I used to teach new people all the time. When I first joined the charity events that I go to periodically, I was one type of player, and that player was much more easygoing than I was when I was a competitive level player. But he was still pretty sweaty, I guess, right? And so over the course of the years, I've mellowed a lot. I'm learning a lot about what I do actually like out of Commander specifically, because it's very different than what I like out of a game of 1v1 Magic. But then I realize that, and then I try to communicate it to a new person. They're like, but when? And I'm like, oh, okay. So for posterity, we are currently, this is almost we're tail end of 2025, September 2025. So as of today, September 5th, 2025, I'm sharing with you my philosophies on Commander. To add to the nuance of things, as I tell my students when we talk about ethics or philosophy, these are my ideas right now. They were different not a lot longer than 6 months ago, and they will probably be different sometime 6 months in the future. But
exactly.
Where we are right now, this is sort of my take of everything that I've learned and grown as a player. And Dan's going to be giving you his present takes. Maybe he'll give you some past takes too. I plan on giving you some past takes. But this is where we're at right now. So if you don't like where we're at right now, still come hang out with us. Maybe we'll have changed. I don't know. Do people change? That's another question for another podcast. So let's move into something rather than me just oozing about what this is supposed to be about. Philosophies on Commander. I have a good one I think I can start with if you want me to start.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, one of my more recent understandings of Commander as a game is that playing what everybody plays is not an interesting thing. I
Oh, you're going against the flavor, is what you're trying to tell me. That you're telling me that Cyclonic Rift is boring.
Cyclonic Rift is boring. And
What?
and more than boring, uh just Cyclonic Rift too. Sort of game changers in general are boring. And overall, I find bracket 4 boring and bracket 3 tolerable.
Yeah, no. I have a lot to say about the brackets in general, but yeah,
Let,
I think I agree with that. In general.
let's get into that because I do want to talk about the brackets a little bit. I mean, we can go into deep dive at some point, but let me at least hit the highlights here. So first off, for those people who don't play Magic all the time, why are you here? And also welcome. Uh, the bracket system is something that came out in Magic earlier this year, and it's this idea. After Magic took over Commander, because it wasn't always run by Magic, they put out a bracket system to help people understand how they like to play Magic and what building things in certain positions will do. Bracket 1 is Garbo. It's absolute Garbo. No land, no mass land denial, no game
Extra
changers, no
turns.
extra turns, period. No two card combos, nothing like that. Bracket 2 is what they call core. This is where they put their precons at, and it has no early turn two card combos. You can have extra turns, but you're not supposed to chain them. Uh, you can have no mass land denial still, and that's pretty much where bracket 2 lands. Bracket 3 is where the game changer thing starts coming into play. Game changer is part of this list of cards that they say if you're playing these cards are so impactful to every game that they're in that we are calling them a game changer. So some of them are really, really like just blowout cards, and some of them are super annoying cards, like Augustine here on the board. Uh, but if you have three or one, two, or three great game changers in your deck, it automatically makes your deck a bracket 3. But even without game changers, that's where you can start chaining extra turns. That's where you can start playing two card combos. It's the beginning of the Wild West, right? It's the beginning of where everything is fair, but it's still kind of a little bit restricted on you. Bracket 4 is the Wild West. That's where everything is legal. You can do whatever you want, play as many game changers as you want, etc. The only thing being that you're still playing with the mindset of I don't really care if my deck is the best deck that it could ever be. And then 5 is CEDH, the competitive format where everything's legal, but also you're always playing with the mindset of winning. And everything is about winning, right? So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Dan, because I know that you've had thoughts on the bracket system for some time.
I've had whenever they first announced it, I had a, a lot of thoughts on it. I like what they are trying to do. I like the idea of the bracket system. I think the implementation isn't the best because, like, in my opinion, even the differences between them are so like minute to the point where like 3, 4, and 5 are all just kind of this mush mashed in my head anyway. and then you have one where it's just like it is exhibition, because that's what it says on
Yeah.
their own little thing that they
Yeah.
made.
It's called exhibition.
Uh, and like even that is so just like few tutors, okay, like just it's all, and then the fact that I like the ideas of a game changers list too, but it's incomplete and it totally misses a lot of context, and it doesn't really tell the whole, like these things don't tell the whole story, is I think the big thing to take away from that, of
So,
like what your deck is. And I think it takes away from what commander is like really good at, and it just turns it into just a power level scaling type thing.
it's I definitely see where you're coming from on that stuff. There's a couple things about the game changer or the bracket list that I really like, that I do think are implemented as well as they can be at this juncture. And it's also a part of sort of how my philosophy lies, right? So what we were just talking about is like Cyclonic Rift is boring, right? So
Right.
Cyclonic Rift is a game changer for people who out there who don't know what it does. It costs a lot of mana to do right, and it costs very little mana to do wrong. It's like one in a blue for bounce something back to your opponent's hand. But if you pay 6 in a blue, you can bounce every card you don't own back to your, or non-land card that your opponents own back to their hands, and your stuff is fine. Um, it's ridiculous. It's one of those cards that when it came out, it was a dollar rare, because people were like, "Oh well, who cares? 7 mana, like it's great in limited, but it's not going to be useful in, you know, regular real Magic, 4 times card Magic." They were wrong. It was very good in standard and modern and such, but they were even more wrong than that, because in Commander, it is absolutely a wipe everybody but you situation.
Yeah, it's a back-breaking card.
It's a back-breaking card, and it wins games, but it wins games in the slowest, most agonizing way that you can win a game. Because often you don't see this card a lot in like Bant aggro decks that are trying to win the game. You see it in control decks that still haven't gotten their footing and have decided to reset everyone else to 0 because they can't win the game, and then 3 turns go by and they still can't win the game.
And it's just such a feels bad
Yeah.
for the whole table, and it's almost to the point where the person might not even have the for sure win, like in the situation you just uh, described, but you still might just want to be like, all right, guys, we just want to scoop up and play another game, because essentially that's what you're doing, except for the one person who gets to reap the rewards, and like just the game is ruined for everyone else.
That is 100% the point. So, okay, so back to game changers is the thing. I really like the bracket system because it went. Here's us identifying what was 40 cards, 70 cards. I don't know. It's a pretty short list overall when you
Right now,
consider
I think it's 61. Is
61
I
cards. Okay,
Yeah.
so like it's like here's 61 cards that we have identified as feels bad cards. These are cards that when you lose to them, or even if they get used against you and then you still win or whatever, you still are not satisfied. And it's so hard to get people on board to pay attention to things that make a game not fun. And so they went out of their way and said, these are the kind of things that we think don't make games fun for everyone. They're on the game changer list to give you that sort of provision. They changed the game irreparably. And not every single game changer is a game changer like Cyclonic Rift, but a lot of them are. And so they were trying very hard to hit that mark. And then they said, okay, here are the bracket systems. One is for everybody who just wants to build and punch people with the thing. If you're playing Timmy, you want to be in one. If you are playing silly Johnny decks, you want to be in one. And then bracket 2 was like, okay, you know enough about Magic that you understand a counter spell exists and should exist and should be a part of your life. Let's
No, I'm not going to play any removal. You can't make me.
no removal whatsoever. But
I'm actually the opposite of that. I think everyone should play removal.
that's right. That's right. So, uh, so bracket 2 is for those people who are like, well, I don't want every game to just be, oh, I played my bigger card before they could play their bigger card. So I win. But it's also a place for a little more fun, interesting things to happen. And then once we get to 3, and this is where you start getting into my opinion, 3 cares more about consistency than creativity. And the fact that they can run 3 game changers is very indicative of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, so one of my decks that is a game changer is Chun Li. Chun Li is a game changer deck because it runs Grand Arbiter, it runs Teferi's Protection, and I think it runs another game changer, but it definitely runs those two.
Okay.
Oh, Ristic Study. Ristic Study's on there.
And see, that's another, just a real quick aside. Like, if you just had those two, you feel like you're pressured to put a third one in now, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you just had like the Arbiter and the Cyclonic Rift or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if you have 2, why wouldn't you have 3,
Yeah.
right? You're already in bracket 3. If you have one game changer in there, you might as well have 3.
Your deck
right?
is actually worse if you don't play another game changer.
Honestly, you're losing value, right?
Yeah.
And so, in that way, 3 starts being the place where it starts becoming quote unquote boring to me because I feel like there's just two, with 3 cards kind of spoken for in your deck, it feels like you're heading toward homogeny.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4 is where homogeny reigns, right? It's like, I wanted to play white black. Here's the 20 cards that you play in every single white black deck. Here's my Soul Ring. Here's my removal package. Here's my blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Here's Blood Artist.
Here's my value. Here's my ramp. Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, it's like, okay, here's 20 cards that actually make this deck as opposed to the other white black deck it could be. And then there's 40 lands, and then everything else is just kind of up in the air. And so, with that in mind, as we creep up the thing, we are trading creativity for consistency. And some people really like consistent decks. There's a lot of people who joined Commander from Standard. And when I joined Commander from Standard, right, I cared a lot about consistency because that's how they teach you how to play in Standard. You have to you're supposed to play 4 copies of the stuff that you need to win. You're supposed to play 3 copies of cards that you don't need to win but are helpful. You're supposed to run only 1 copy of a bomb that's never going to work, but you want it in your deck because it looks cool. You know, that's the way that you play Magic in a Standard environment. But Commander is not Standard, and it took me years and years to realize that.
Yeah, I think it's I definitely haven't played as much Commander as you. It's something I've interfaced with a lot more casually, but whenever I learned about it that existed, I wanted to, make a deck and get into it. And I think I got those lessons from other card games. And then coming back to Magic, especially like the most recent time, I think I've really tried to incorporate stuff like that into my deck building philosophy too. Because I agree, it is and when you're looking at Commander, especially, you have 99 cards, and I've always kind of thought this anyway, is like trying to get any amount of consistency just seems like antithetical to the game.
Yeah, I mean it's unique cards, right? And
Yeah.
I think actually what pulled me, because I would say that originally I was a solid high three, low four player, right?
Hmm.
Because I did want to do some goofy stuff, but not goofy enough, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
the deck that I actually blame for my or attribute to my bracket two nonsense now is your Send Triplets deck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
A no win
so
condition send triplets deck.
no win condition Send Triplets. So guys, Send Triplets. I put it up on the screen. It's two and Esper. At the beginning of your upkeep, you choose an opponent. This turn, that player can't cast spells or activate abilities and plays with the hand revealed, and you may play lands and cast spells from that player's hand this turn. So it gives you the opportunity to play cards from your opponent's hand. Now, originally, when I played against this deck, and when I played against theft decks at all, I would get really pissy
No one
because,
likes it. It just bringing up this card, people get people are like, "Oh, you want to play that? I guess." And I'm
right?
like, "No, guys."
And Send Triplets is not a bad card nowadays. It's not the end all beat all theft commander like it used to be. Now we have
Hmm.
like Xanathar and we have other things like that that are way worse, you know. Um, but the thing is that my big issue with Send Triplets and theft at the time was it's like I want to play my good stuff, and anytime you're playing theft, you're taking my good stuff. And so you and I were playing a game with our buddies, and I think we had one setup where you like hit me like 3 rounds in a row because I just had gas in my hand. And
Hmm.
so you wanted to play that gas, so you picked me, right?
Hmm.
And that's like at the time I was so mad about it. And then as I got older and I started learning, what I started doing was I started making worse decks. And I was like, the problem is that my hand is too full of gas. So every time you look at my hand and you're like, "Oh, I need to get those cards. I'm going to pick him again next round." Right? And so the solution was stop playing so many good cards, dummy. So I stopped playing so many good cards. Now, in that vein, uh, Dan, you and I played a game while I was in St. Louis when you played Send Triplets. Do you remember how many times that you hit me with Send Triplets?
I don't think I hit. I don't think I hit you anytime. No
You
one
hit
had anything good whenever we played that game, though.
you
To
hit
be fair.
yeah, no, you hit me 0 times and you hit very few people at all with anything like really good. You didn't get anything juicy out of that game, right?
Right.
Now some people in the game were playing like some pretty backbreaking cards and just weren't drawing them. But my deck was specifically focused on doing my thing. And if you weren't doing my thing, you did not want my cards. Because because my cards were only good at making my thing happen and nothing else.
That's like like underhanded protection from counter spells too.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. There's a lot of times that I should be countered that people don't counter me because they're like, "What the hell is that thing? What do you mean you're running, uh, you know, Katsumara the animator, but you're not running it in a broken deck? You know, like what what are you doing? What is this trash that you have brought to the table?" And to them I answer, "It's my trash and I love it. I'm little raccoon boy. Get off my back."
I So like whenever I learned about Commander, it was like kind of like a dream come true because actually Send Triplets is the perfect example because before I could play Commander, I just played 60 card standard. Um, I had cards, but I never had a lot of cards, and I never had a lot of money. Like I did buy, like there are certain times where I was like more into Magic or less into Magic, but I traded my buddy for this card because I saw it and I thought it was cool. And one of my favorite parts of TCGs is trading. We need to trade more. Just a little disclaimer right there. Trade more cards. It's a lot
Trade
of
more.
fun.
Seriously, do.
Um, but anyway, I traded for this card, and forever I just couldn't find a deck to make it work. It's a legendary creature in a 6 card deck. If you only have one of them, it's kind of like funky. It's a little high costed for a 60 card format. Um, my friends were playing stuff like dragons and angels and like a bunch of other lame stuff. I usually had to bust out my white tokens deck to even hang with a lot of stuff in the 60 card format. But with Commander, it allows me to play this card, and like that even goes back into my like not buying a lot of cards. It's like you can buy a single pack of whatever set of anything, and then you have 11 commander cards that can go into whatever decks like ready to go, and you don't really have to think too much about any you know like as long as it like fits your thing and it does something good, you can throw it in there.
Yeah. And
And that's my favorite part is I can like look through my whole collection and see like hidden value.
yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I learned from playing your Centriplets deck, which for the record is probably the least offensive theft deck that I've ever seen in my life. You know, it's like it's a very nice deck. You're trying to get, like you're playing Font of Mythos to give everybody lands. You're playing stuff to draw people cards. It's almost a group hug deck.
It is. It's
Un-
it's it's group. It's like group hug plus mana rocks, so I can play
so you can
other
play their
people's
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I learned after I did one of my charity events, and I ended up playing against somebody who's running a clone deck, and they were running clones and theft in that deck. It's just clones and theft. And they came in with like this really like smug, like haughty thing, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. If you're playing, Vorinclex Monstrous Leader, then I should be able to play Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. And that's not me being dumb. You shouldn't have played this card if you didn't want me to play
Right.
it." And I hated how they were acting, but what I hated more is that they're technically right. Right?
Hmm.
Like, technically speaking, if you come to a table with a 3 or a 4 and then someone takes your stuff, you have no right to be mad about it.
Yeah,
Because,
you're gonna do that to everybody else.
yeah,
I'm just doing what you were gonna do,
yeah,
and
you're just
that.
ganking me with the stuff that I was going to gank you with. You
Hmm.
you took my knife, and now I feel bad for bringing a knife to a knife fight. You know?
Oh man, I don't think I think it's a green card, but I can't remember. My buddy played this card the other day.
Mhm.
That's like everyone can make a choice to look through their deck for 3 lands, and then you get to play 2, and then he gets one of them.
Oh yeah,
And
it's one of the offerings. The uh,
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I've never seen it before, so I wasn't sure. But but yeah, what a fun card.
yeah, there's all kinds of weird things like that. I know what you're talking about, but the yeah, it's like, and that's the thing. It's like there's so many like cards out there that are fun that most people are just gonna be like, okay, whatever, do your thing. But if you are playing the highest level of Commander, you are asking to get dunked on by your own stuff, or
Hmm.
just like beat at your own game. So like you play life gain and then your friends playing life gain, you're both in bracket 4. When you guys either hit a stalemate or they out life you, you're going to get mad about it. You can't. You
I
brought
actually
that
have a
heat.
I have a perfect antidote for this too, because
Yeah.
this happened in my last game that I played with my other buddies. Was I was trying out my Mirim Sentinel Worm deck, and I'm like, I don't know that I think this like I drew some hands and this one seems pretty juicy, so I'm not sure how it's gonna go, you guys. We played the first game and it's pretty good. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, you want to play it again and just like see if it wasn't luck, if this actually is, because I didn't know how strong it was. And the second game, I popped off so hard that uh, my buddy was able to beat me with all of my own cards because he played a card that said steal and get haste to all the creatures that are like either above 4 or below 3 or something like that,
Yeah,
like 3 and
yeah.
below or 4 and above, and everything I had was 4 and above, and they were all duplicated, and just the board I had set up with this guy was like
So he hit you
uh
with 20 of your own dragons.
it wasn't only that. I had like infinite mana gen on attack, and then infinite, or not infinite, I had a lot of mana gen on attack, and then I had Intet the Dreamer, which allowed him to play his entire deck. So he's like, he stole my board and then just beat me with it because I so exactly what you were saying is like, if you're gonna do that to other people, be ready to have it done to you, and that's
Right?
exactly what happened.
It's just like understand that at any minute, any moment you can get got. And actually, I wanted to talk about your Miriam deck. I haven't gotten to play against it yet, but I wanted to talk about your Miriam deck because you and I kind of came. I was talking to you about this. You really like very powerful commanders, but you also like to try to find a way to make the deck maybe not that bad. Like you like commanders that are going to be played a lot in bracket 3 and bracket 4, and you're like, but what if I just make a little cheeky bracket 2 version, you know?
Listen, this also just happens to be like goes back into just the stuff I have. This Mirim, I
You
think I
pulled it.
pulled it out. Yeah, I pulled it out of whatever. And it's like the deck itself is just like two different dragon precons with like whatever random stuff I have. That Shadow card, the only reason I wanted to play Shadow is because I love Sonic, and everyone else was already jumped on another deck, and it's like, oh, I guess I'll make the Shadow then, since no one immediately went for that one. And making that deck was so much fun because I didn't go into it trying to get the most out of the split second, or the like him or Sonic I think can be really really abused if you really want to. But I was just like I was looking for what I thought, oh, what would be a good Eggman? What would be a good Omega? Or like the other
Yeah,
Sonic cards like that I wanted to have on Shadow's team. And I looked for every card that had chaos in the name.
yeah,
It doesn't matter if it's good or not.
yeah. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of people don't understand uh that you could play a super powerful commander in a not very super powerful way, but it will still make the deck itself very good, right? Because if you're playing Shadow and Rocks, it almost doesn't matter what else you're playing, right? Because you are going to be able to cast them uncounterable. You are going to be able to get them out without someone responding with a blink effect, right? So, and that's not a bad thing. That's a function of what you were trying to do, right?
Hmm.
Like it's like I want to play these bad cards and I don't want anyone to stop me from playing these bad cards because
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's just what he
right?
does, though.
That's what he does. That's what his job is, right? But like he could have said literally anything and you would have built his shadow deck, right? Because
Yeah,
like
yeah, same thing for Sonic. He could have
yeah,
said anything, and I probably would have
and
tried to
and you
make
would
it
have
work.
tried to make something right. And
It
so
just so happens that they're decent.
yeah, that brings me to my next like big commander philosophy that I've started going by is I'm only playing things that I like from now on. And this is a fairly recent thing for me because it's tied to the bracket system, but it's not exactly the same thing. So I have built, if anybody's been on my stream or paying attention to anything I'm doing, I have built literally every Sonic commander. The Sonic thing came out and I absolutely adore it. It reignited like a love for Sonic that I haven't felt probably since like 1998. Like a long time. Longer than a lot of people who listen to this podcast have been
Back
alive.
when Sonic was way past cool.
When he was way past cool, man.
Yeah,
When he was the fastest thing alive and that's it.
pretty rad dude.
When the dude was fucking snacking on a chili dog and telling us not to go with strangers into dark places.
It's
You know,
no good.
it's no good. Jaleel, like,
Yeah,
I,
thanks, Jaleel.
oh my god, I love that Sonic. That rendition of Sonic is one of my favorites. But let's not get too far into my deep abiding love for Sonic. We'll be here all day.
All right, welcome to Casually Sonic, where
Casually
you're Sonic.
where we got to go fast, but the podcast goes slow. But yeah, so I made every Sonic character's deck, and then I made it again, and then I made them again.
You made Amy like 3 or 4 times, right?
I have 3 iterations of Amy. There should have technically been 4, but I scrapped the first one. There are 3 iterations of Amy. There are 2 iterations of Eggman. There are 2 iterations of Shadow. There are 2 iterations of Sonic, and there are 3 iterations of Tails. And
you haven't done Knuckles yet?
No, I didn't make Knuckles' deck because I decided Knuckles is the slicer of the Sonic cards. I'll talk about that in a minute. My first like jolt into making what I wanted came out when the Transformer cards came out. Because I was like, man, I really want to make like Transformer decks. Like I want to build a deck about Transformers, right? And I just couldn't. Like the Transformer cards are good, but they're not that good. Most of them.
There's just not enough of them.
And there wasn't enough of them, and at the time, especially, there weren't enough robots. You know, like all the robots we had were from the Warhammer 40k stuff, and that was pretty much it. You know.
Or you can pretend that Mir is a robot.
Yeah, you can pretend that Mir is a robot. You can pretend that Construct was a robot, right? But it's not a robot. It's not a robot.
I mean, there's a couple of them. I feel like you could get away with stuff like Solemn Simulacrum and stuff. It's like he can hang out with the robots.
he's literally called Sad Robot. We could get with him, yeah. But like the point being that like it was like it felt kind of weird, and it didn't hang well enough with the Transformers for me to feel like it was a Transformers deck. So I would compromise and I would play just like basic ass normal cards and stuff, right? So one time I built this Ultra Magnus deck. There's a big thing online about my escapades with this Ultra Magnus deck. But I knew I had messed up when I played in a 4-pod of Commander, and I was playing with people who were playing Bracket 3, Bracket 4. We didn't have that terminology during the time, but that's what it was, right? Particularly high-level Commander, I was playing Ultra Magnus. And I got out, on turn 2, I put out Sword of the Animist. And on turn 3, I played Slicer and got Sword of the Animist on it. So Slicer, for people who don't know, is a 4 and a red, double strike haste 3/4. And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of Slicer until end of turn. If you do, goad it and it can't be sacrificed. And if I don't give the player that card, convert it. But the converted side is just a first strike with haste that when it deals combat damage, convert it, right? So I played it converted on my side. I put a sword on it and I swung and got a land. Then I gave it to my opponent. They swung and I got a land. And then my other opponent did it and they swung and I got a land. And when it got back to my turn, I had enough land not only to play Ultra Magnus, but literally every big dummy in my deck. And my opponents were like, oh, you suck. Like they weren't like, oh, that's clever, or oh, that's a cool thing that you did, or anything like that. They're like, you suck. You have created a game state that now it has to be 3v1 or we just lose.
See, your problem is you played 2 good cards. You had that Ultra Magnus. If you would have had like a 5-cost mana rock or something silly in your hand, you know, and no one would have batted an eye.
Exactly. If you're playing,
they would have said, because that's what I originally thought. I'm like, oh, that's a clever trick. He can get all the lands from them attacking, and they have to attack. I think that is cool.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you play Omniscience after the fact, it's a little.
Exactly. It's like if you play Cage Sun, most people are just like, okay, I guess play Cage Sun, go off King. You know, they're just like, cool, okay, no worries.
No, the
Well,
power play is you play Gauntlet of Power.
yeah.
That's what you do. That's what you do. That's when people like you.
Yeah, Gauntlet of Power is very funny. But you play Ultra Magnus Tactician right after doing that, and they want to stab you in the throat, and that's fair. They
Yeah.
should. You know, you did a mean thing. You set up a thing where they're forced to hurt each other every turn, and then your thing. I almost built that deck. I almost built a slicer deck that was just that, just like making myriad tokens a slicer and just like hitting everybody with random slicers every time. And I stopped myself because I was apparently, in a fever dream and I needed to grow up a little bit.
I don't know. Giving it goad with the sword of what is it? The sword of selves or something?
Sort of
That's pretty
selves.
cool. That's pretty cool. I don't know. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Remember, if you goad it with the sword of selves, the copies will hit.
Oh,
you.
You still get hit? Whatever.
You will get hit. I'm just saying, you will get hit, but it is funny. It's funny. It's just not. It's not fair, and it's not. There's a difference between funny and fun, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny, but it's not fun. But yeah, so I kind of realized during that time period that I wanted to play cards. I should play more cards that I want to play, and not worry so much about making decks that are great, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started making the Amy deck, I first put together the version of the deck that I thought was going to be the idea, which was oops all hammers. No equipment in the deck was anything but a hammer. But funnily enough, there's a kind of a strong hammer. It's called Colossus Hammer. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Its only weakness is the fact that it has a high equipped cost.
Yeah, exactly. And wouldn't you know it, Amy Rose does not care about equip costs, period. So Colossus Hammer is a one cost equipment that gives you +10/+10 and you lose flying, but it equips for 8. But if you're playing with Amy, that equip cost is nothing because it just gets equipped. And then so she swings for 13 commander damage on that turn, and your other creature that you played earlier because you had some mana lying around is swinging for at least 11.
Not even mana lying around you. That's on curve. Like your
Yeah.
2 or 3 drop is going to be probably a creature,
Yeah.
maybe another
In red, white.
equipment,
Yeah.
and then turn 4, Amy comes out, hasted, picks up this gigantic thing, and you're having a bad time.
Yeah. And I've definitely done at least one draw of that deck where I was like, turn 1, land, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Colossus Hammer. And then turn 2, Amy, swing at somebody for 13.
Ouch.
And I was like, I'm glad this is a goldfish and not the real game.
Well, and it's like, even if you had one more turn in between there to get, like, let's say a double strike, that's 21 commander damage right there, right off the rip on turn 3.
Exactly. It's wild. It's insane.
Yeah.
So I was really mad at myself and I went back to the drawing board. And so then I took out a lot of the hammers, but I kept Colossus Hammer in the second build because I was like, I want to make it so that if I'm grabbing Colossus Hammer, it's because we've reached turn 7 and it's time to win the game, you know? Like, it's time to start actually trying to pull things out. But then I had to constantly check myself during play because there were a couple tutors in the deck, you know, fighter classes in the deck for equipment shenanigans and things like that. But that also means that at any time at all, I can just go get Colossus Hammer. So I'd run into this issue where I was like, okay, do I make the clearly right play or do I not get Colossus Hammer? And
yeah,
it was causing me a lot of anxiety because I was thinking like, well, it's turn 5. If I get the Colossus Hammer now, I'll have it on turn 7. But then I also showed everybody I've got a Colossus Hammer in my hand, which means I'll inevitably have to play it now, you know, so that I don't die to because I have it later, you know. And I was just like, this is too much stuff. So then I went back to the drawing board again and I entirely rebuilt it with mostly living weapon and for Mirrodin and things like that. And it's just like a goofy uh a goofy all of the creatures are tokens, and we're just going to do the best we can with what we have.
Right, right.
And,
See, I it's interesting because I usually don't play with search effects. It's just not my typical style card that I like to play. And I was thinking about it while you're talking. I think another another thing that I was thinking of is I only have I think one game changer that I own even. So I'm already disadvantaged in any tier 3 deck I have. But that game changer I have is a demonic tutor, which is just
mhm.
search anything. And uh I was like thinking about it, the two decks, I think it's in Shadow right now. And then I think it was in Sin Triplets. But the only thing like I think that I would have searched for Winston triplets is Helm of the Host, just so I
Mhm.
can double its effect or whatever. But I don't even think I have a target in Shadow, and I think that is like important, like you're saying, like not having that Colossus Hammer. And I never put those cards in there with the like I need to find this card, so that's why I have it in. It's a good card to have. Tutors are typically good, and
Mhm.
in Commander you want to have like a variety of different things, and that's what I find fun to fun to build around and play. But yeah, the no tutors thing or like like getting rid of like those targets, I think is a very interesting deck building. And it's better, it's fun when people can be like, "What is that card?" and then reach across the table and like try to see what you got going on. Like it's awesome whenever I see cards that I've never. It's the same thing whenever you're opening packs. It's like seeing new cards out of a pack or like looking at the pre-releases or whatever, spoilers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that like tutors are important, especially for decks that need just like a little bit of help getting going, right?
Definitely.
Like,
And I'll caveat this. I don't count land tutors as tutors. I just
yeah.
those are just cards that you play.
I realized later, I was wondering about that the other day. They do not count. So ramp does not count as tutoring to the bracket system, which I do think is interesting, but it's not necessarily wrong, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I do think that there is something to be said though about uh, playing some decks and just letting your draw be your draw, right? And you can run more draw. You can always make it so that you're drawing cards to try to essentially tutor, right? Um, I recently built a deck that is Oops All Spaceships, and it's running the Infinite Guideline Station as its commander, right? It's not a good deck. It doesn't have enough multicolored permanents to make a bunch of robots or anything. Um, it won't draw a bunch of cards because there's not enough multicolored robots or multicolored permanents on the board, right? But it exists in this space where once I start drawing, I'm going to draw half of my deck. You know, like once I get it moving in the right space, I'm just going to keep drawing and drawing and drawing. And so, like on turn 12 the other day, I won a game with that because nobody had touched me forever because they're like, you're not doing anything. You're just drawing cards. And I was like, wait till I get going. And then I drew a bunch of cards. Um, but I still didn't hit my win con because there's no tutors in that deck. So after drawing literally 50 cards in one turn, I still didn't hit the win con that would have let me win the game on that turn. So I had to pass. And everybody was just like, well, I can't beat that. I don't have a board wipe. And someone else is like, well, I can't beat that. I don't have a board wipe. And then I won on the next turn, right? But
Mhm.
I felt bad because I did all that drawing and then I didn't actually win the game. So tutors have a point, right?
Mhm. No, for sure. For
but you
sure.
but you have to be careful and judicious about if you are only ever tutoring for one card, then basically what you're saying is I want to play a game where I'm only allowed one copy of every card, and then play two copies of my good card,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
three copies of my good card, or four copies of my good card. And it's just
yeah. It can get egregious too.
right, which you're already dealing with because a lot of games rely on your commander,
Hmm.
and your commander is your big thing. That's going to lead me to another philosophy later. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
I'm probably along the same lines. It's just like the like the fact you really need to lean into the 99, and there's 20,000 cards or whatever.
Yeah.
Magic has been around for 30 plus years. Like there's so much to to reach into. There's like sets that I haven't even like messed with. And also uh like look for cheaper stuff. It doesn't have to be $5, It can be $1
Yeah.
card. It could be 20 cents.
Yeah. Dan and I were talking about this off stream the other day, but it's never been easier to build on a budget.
Yeah.
Never in the history of Magic has it ever been easier to build on a budget. This Infinite Guideline Station card that I was just talking about is currently 32 cents. It's dirt cheap, and this is a good 5-color commander.
Yeah.
It's not Jorah, I mean, obviously, but it is a really good 5-color commander for multicolored decks. It'll do things. It'll draw cards. It does the thing. You know, uh, but it's not. Since it isn't Jodo the Unifier, it's not a good card. A good card, right? And so
Yeah.
it's 32 cents. We were talking about our friend who plays a lot of cards, and his like he says that his deck restriction is his budget, right? Now, your deck restriction is your budget. It really is.
Yeah.
Because I know that you're not out there buying cards every week. Like you need to make sure you got to like a deck before you start trying to get cards from it outside of what you have.
I ask my friends and see if they want to trade me cards to see if there's like, if
Right,
there's stuff that I really need. When I was
right.
building that shadow deck, I built like what I wanted it to be online. And then whenever our other buddy Brett gave me a proxy of it, I'm like, oh, I'll just build whatever I have. And I had like maybe half of the cards that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to put into it, probably way less than that. And it's just as fine. It's still fun, and
Yeah.
it was just with what I had.
But even Joda the Unifier, who's an amazing 5-color commander, an outstanding 5-color commander, the cheapest version of him is $1.80.
Yeah.
So it is not hard to build on a budget nowadays. But that friend of ours that we're talking about, who's done really good stuff for us and stuff, but he claims to be building on a budget, and that's his quote unquote restriction. Massacre Worm is a really good card. And yes, are there versions of it that are better now? Yes. Are there things that's done over it? Absolutely. Which is why the cheapest version of it is $1.50. But it's still Massacre Worm.
Yeah.
And Massacre Worm is never going out. Like, they would have to obscenely power creep this game to make it where Massacre Worm is not a good play. You know?
Yeah, there's gonna be some stuff. I don't think I'll ever be mad at a Sheo dropping down. If I ever playing Shoulder the Apocalypse, I'm never unhappy about that guy.
Right. Speaking of which, anyone want to shoulder the apocalypse? I've got one sitting on my desk, and I don't need it.
For
I don't
free.
need it anymore. No.
Mm.
It's only going for cheapest version's going for 50. My version is going for 80-ish.
But you said it was affordable to play Magic the Gathering.
I know, right? And that's what I was getting into. So it is affordable to play Magic the Gathering. You're just not supposed to play this kind of Magic the Gathering. I'm gonna hit this card again later because it ties into another philosophy I have. But cards that end up costing $20, $30, $40. They're usually two things up with them. One is that they're good in more than one format, which happens, right?
Hmm.
Now I actually there's a third one because one that I forgot about is that they came out in some premium set and have some kind of weird art attached to them
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes them super thing. And it's like, oh, but did you see the Tifa with her in a dress? That's $80 billion. And I'm just like, no, I didn't see it, and I don't care. I just want a thing. By the way, here's the $450
That
Tifa martial
version, the
artist.
holographic version of that
The
is
holographic,
450.
yeah, the holographic one where, by the way, this is just an anime picture of Tifa, which it's a nice looking picture of Tifa, but it's an anime picture of Tifa on a piss yellow background with the
With
number
the
7 behind it.
7. Yeah.
That's not.
I really I didn't like these alt arts for Final Fantasy. I also thought these were kind of a loss. They could have done more.
This,
The original one just looks way better.
the original one looks so much better, and I do like the anime style. But why are they on these weird gradient background? Like they're not even
Yeah.
gradient; they're just solid color.
It's solid
It's just
colors
like
for every single one of
it's like
them.
marigold and like the Yuffie ones like on a gray one, and I'm like, what's wrong with you people?
I bet you they look good if you have all of them
Next to
all
each
lined
other.
up together. They probably look good like that, but there's never going to be a situation in the game
It's
where you have that. It's only ever just going to be up on some dude's wall in his basement in a picture frame.
yeah, right. At his Tifa shrine.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, let's not get too deep into that. I don't want to get too mad at these weirdos. They can do whatever they want. But my point being is that those two things, or it's because the card is devastating in Commander. So game changers auto run for quite a bit of money. You know, we were just talking about Cyclonic Rift not that long ago. Cyclonic
Overrated
Rift
card, by the way. Would you
Cyclonic
say it again?
Rift's cheapest version is $20. Most of them are going for around 40, and then there's a random version that's apparently 460 or something like that.
How much is Force of Will? That's
Uh,
another card that's overrated.
let me find that out for you.
Let's see. $60 average, it looks like.
I don't know how
That's crazy.
I don't know how I did this, but I managed to break our card reader while I was sleeping.
Uh-oh.
Just just do this.
Yeah, there's several printings of it for around like 55 to $65.
Oh, there it is.
And then there's the Amaket one for $315.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. The here we go. Oh, I see. The 450 or the $850 Cyclonic Rift is the one that is numbered.
Oh,
One of the
okay.
XXX out of 500s.
Serialized. Yeah.
Yeah, serialized. Yeah. And then we were just talking about Force of Will. Force of Will, bottom rung, yeah, is like $60 really. Yeah, it's just
Hmm.
$60 all around with an invocation around
Play
three
Counterspell.
fifteen.
Just play
Just play
Counterspell.
Counterspell. It's okay. In fact, Counterspell is technically better, and you know,
I think so.
and so okay, Counterspell. Counterspell is a good lead into things too. Oh man, but the point being is that there are dozens upon dozens, even hundreds of options in certain things that will give you the same or similar benefit. It might not be as cost efficient, but if you are playing where I like to play anyway, that cost difference is negligible. But the
Mm.
physical price of the card is insane. So just play worse cards. Play worse cards. That's
You
that.
can even, yeah, I agree. But you can even, like we were saying, you can play really, really good cards. Like a great example, I think, is Swords to Plowshares.
Source.
It's uh, it's been around forever. It's just as strong as it was whenever it got released back in the '90s, or When
Hmm.
was this card? Was this an alpha card? I can't remember if it was
It's
alpha,
it's pretty early. I
but
don't.
it's super early. I
Yeah.
know that it was. It's. I have seen it in old formatting, so I know that.
Yes.
Uh, but yeah, this it's $1, $1, and you're doing great.
Yeah, it is $1, and so I do want to talk about this card at some later date because, in my opinion, maybe we should be running less Swords to Plowshares. But as as a card, though, I agree 100% with what you're saying. Like, it's powerful, it does what it needs to do, and it's been printed enough, and it's ubiquitous enough, and there are other things that are similarly as good that it's $1. Just run it. It's fine. If you need a removal and you have $1, here you go. It's one of the best removals in the game. Path to Exile, very
Yeah,
similar.
that's what I was gonna bring up.
Path to Exile, I think, is actually even cheaper because
Swords is better.
it's well,
It's
yeah,
barely cheaper. It's but they're still
94
so
cents. Yeah,
good.
yeah. So like, it's one of those things though that you can play this game for absolutely dirt cheap. You've just got to be willing to make concessions that a lot of people think that they cannot make. But if you are playing in bracket 2, you can make concessions. It is 100. It's so easy to make concessions. And in fact, that was going to be my next uh, point. Make concessions. Make your deck worse on purpose. And I know that that sounds dumb, but here's kind of a thing that kind of drove me to that. I was listening to somebody talk, and they said, if you are playing a commander, let's say I'm playing Sonic the Hedgehog as my commander, because I am. He's 4 mana. So my deck should since I want to play Sonic as quickly as humanly possible, not only because it's Sonic, but because the card is really good.
Hmm.
Um, I, I should have less 4 drops in the deck because in a perfect world, I am playing Sonic on 4 every single time. Right? There's
Right,
there's
right.
no time that I do not want to be playing Sonic at the 4 drop, and then if someone kills it at the 6 drop, and then if someone kills it at the 8 drop, because his ability is too good for me to not have out on the board, right? So don't play 4 drops in that deck. Now, take that and extrapolate it out to other kinds of commanders with other mana costs, and you'll see that you can start making concessions almost immediately. I'm going to bring up one of my favorites, Kodama the West Tree. Kodama the West Tree is a 3 cost 3/3 with reach. Modified creatures you control have trample. And whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. Um, I have a bracket 3 version of this deck, which is very, very oppressive when it gets the start it wants to get. Um, but the problem is that a lot of the uh, doublers, the counter doublers, are in the 3 to 4 range, right? 3 to 5. And there's some at 1 and 2, right? But if I'm doing everything correctly, I really want to be getting Kodama out and then swinging and then doing some damage, right?
Hmm.
So I run 2 drops that have adapt or something like that, or I run 5s and 6 drops that have really good doubling effects, right? Like
Hmm.
like Vorin collects Monstrous Raider, right? And by doing that, I have left the curve wide open to get Kodama out when I need Kodama out. But I'm also not necessarily playing like I in that version of the deck I'm running hardened scales, but in a bracket 2 version, I'm not. And it's making my deck worse, sure, but it's not making my deck ineffective at bracket 2. You know.
Yeah, right.
And so like when I'm saying worse cards, I'm not even saying running cheaper cards because there are many versions of Heart and Scales out here that are $2, right? It's not a super expensive card, but it homogenizes your plus one deck to look like everybody else's plus one deck, right?
I have an incredible common 8-cent card that goes in this deck that
Yeah,
I can pull off the top of my head
tell
because I
me.
played in standard. It's a little frog guy, and his name is Sun Shower Druid.
Sunshower Druid. I
I
remember this
like this
card.
card.
Sunshower Druid, Frog Druid, one cost 0/2. When it enters the field, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and you gain 1 life. It's from Bloomborough. I didn't even know this card existed yet because
I'm fond of this guy.
it's
He's just
cute.
a card I played in standard. He went with my +1/+1 counter deck, and it's cheap because even on arena, I'm fucking poor. I'm sorry, my language,
No,
but
don't
even on
be.
arena, even on arena, I'm poor because I don't want to put a bunch of money into that game whenever I can't afford it. I would rather just get paper. But it also lets me play cards like Shieldred the Apocalypse, which I would never be able to play of 3 of or 4. I think maybe I even only have 2 of that card, but I had multiple.
Mm-hmm.
I had like 2 or 3 of it.
Yeah.
But that's a card I would never have 2 or 3 of in real life. But at the same rate, this little guy, he got me tons of value,
Yep.
tons of wins. There's so many times where I was able to attack with this guy in specific at like a 12-12 or a 12-14 or something like
Yeah,
that.
and there's a bunch of cards that have come out recently that, like in the last 2 years, I haven't updated that Kodama list in a while, but there's a bunch of cards that have come out in the last 2 years that I'm like, yeah, I want to run this. I want to run this. I want to run the warp version of the
Oh
plus one
yeah,
thing.
we were talking about that recently.
Yeah,
Super cool.
yeah, it's so neat because it makes it so that I can do, instead of having Hardened Scales, which Hardened Scales is a very good card and very da 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 da. But what if I'm doing other stuff when I'm at one, and then later in the game, it's like, okay, I have an opportunity to start putting counters on things. I'm going to pay 1 green to use the warp guy, and then or the warp enchantment, and then I'm going to use the rest of my mana to do a bunch of plus one counters on that one turn. And then it goes away. And then I can bring it back later when I need it again. But for now, it did what it needed to do for one turn, and it's not in the way anymore. So people aren't looking at my board going, we got to get rid of that disgusting doubler. It's too good. And you know what? Why don't we just swing out at Matt anyway? Because apparently his hand's not doing too great, and we're just gonna go ahead and jack him up because there's 7 of us. Sorry, that was a game I played recently.
Oh
Uh,
jeez.
it was just, and I'm just like, all right, guys, I get it, but like, I also wanted to play this game, and they're like, well, if you want to play the game, you want to play at Hardened Scales, so don't play Hardened Scales. Play the fun things that you want to play. Get the idea of the deck down, but you do not have to play the most efficient version of every answer there is. You can run goofy removal. You can run weird little sunflower shower druids instead of, random one drops that just all benefit your thing. As long as you are doing the thing that your deck wants to do, it does not have to do it at the best level it always does.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Next time you look at your list or you're building a list, just look at the price on the card. If it says more than $1, just think about it and
Yeah.
see if there's not a
Yeah.
different thing to play.
Definitely check the price, but also, so this leads into another weird philosophy thing I wanted to talk about. What do you feel about EDH Rec, Dan? What's your feelings on EDH Rec?
I know you have some feelings, but I think I found out I might use it differently than some people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's partially goes into my into my not wanting to spend so much money on a card.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember Cyclonic Rift. Like you said, that was only like $20 right now. or
Yeah,
maybe it was even less than that.
there's a there's Cyclonic Rift can be $20.
I feel like it
It's
was
25.
25. Okay, I feel like it was like $40 not too
It's
long ago.
mostly it's $40, but there's like you could get Hope's Arrow Magic, which is Cyclonic Rift, uh,
Oh, okay.
for 26, and like there's a version from Commander Masters that's going for 28, but mostly
All right.
30 to 40.
But so I'm thinking of in the past whenever I was looking at that card specifically, and that's just on every blue list. It's on every
Yeah.
single blue list. And there's a couple of green cards that are on every green list. There's a couple of like if you're trying to do like white weenie token generation,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a few cards that are on every single list that are all like $30 or $40. It I like it. I think because it helps me look at see what other people are building, and I also learn stuff about the game. Like maybe there's cards I didn't know exist
Mm-hmm.
that like will help me just put things into perspective. Uh, but it it is you do see some of the same cards on every single list.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. So you're actually leading me directly to my point. So in my opinion, when it comes to EDH Rec, if you are a new player or a player who can't like hold vast number of cards in my head, right? Because for me, I was a professional player for a long time. So when you bring up Cyclonic Rift and how Cyclonic Rift is $30, my first instinct is to tell you run River's Rebuke. It's 57 cents. And yes, it only hits one player instead of all players. I'm sorry, you don't get to get everybody. But you know what you do? Make less
Yeah.
enemies and pay 57 cents for it.
It's just much better. Or just play. I know there's a 2-drop blue colorless card that says return target thing to your opponent's deck.
Yeah.
Play that. Play the
Play,
unoverloaded
unsummon.
version of yeah, unsummon, one of the best cards ever.
Yeah.
Like it's so what a classic.
It's a quarter. But I can do this because I have like vast quantities of cards running through my brain all the time, right?
Mhm.
So when people talk about a card, I'm like, okay, or this card, or this card, or this card that do the same thing, just like it, right? So for people who don't have that, I don't blame them for wanting to use EDH Rec. My problem with EDH Rec comes from when you're like, I found this commander. Let's just pick a very popular commander, Dan.
Oh, a popular one?
Yeah, like a
I don't know.
how,
I guess let's just look at Joda because a lot of people play him.
Joda's great. Let's look at Joda. So Joda the Unifier, uh, Wooburg, legendary human wizard. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, which by the way counts itself. So it says 5/5, but it's actually a 6/6 if there's no other legendaries out. But he gives all legendaries +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. And then whenever you cast a legendary spell, not just a creature, from your hand, exile cards until you exile a legendary non-land, again, not just creature, with lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So he's insane. He's absolutely bonkers.
Pretty correct.
If you just go in and you're like, okay, well, like I don't know all the multicolored commanders that I could be, or multicolored legendaries I could be running in this deck. I don't know that Infinite Guideline Station exists because Edge of Eternities just came out, and all I see in my thread is Spider-Man. So like I gotta do something, and so going in there and looking at things and going, oh, I never even thought of this card, or oh, I never did anything. That's so cool. It's so cool. And I think that more players should do that when they're first starting out or they're getting a grip on how the game is played. Okay? Now for the nuance part of it. Do not let EDH Rec build your deck for you. Do not just go through and go popular card, or even more than that. EDH Rec has a function on it now that you can just push a button and it will give you the average of the top 100 cards run in a run in a particular commander's deck, and it'll just build you sort of the the mean idea of what people think of when they think of Joda. Now,
See, that's so lame though too.
yeah,
I
it's
yeah,
lame.
that's it's not. It kind of defeats the purpose of like building a deck too, and it really. I see. I'll give you a little bit of my history. Is I grew up with TCGs. I thought card games were so cool.
Me too.
I mean, I still do, obviously, because we're talking about it,
Here
and
we
we're
are.
yeah, here we are. But when I was a kid, it's just like I watched all the shows. I tried the Zatch Bell card game. I tried Duel Masters, even though I knew no one that played any of those games. Like I was lucky that I knew enough people to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I had Pokemon cards. No one knew how to play Pokemon. I knew how to play Pokemon. I had the Game Boy game. So I feel like I come from the Timmy that wants to be Yugi Moto type
Mm-hmm.
mindset. Like I watched the show, I watched them play the cards,
I,
and I'm like, I got that they weren't as good as the game, but I'm better at the game. I can figure it out. Uh, and then played what I wanted to play and played what I had the money to get or what people would trade me. And then when you go and start playing other people, maybe they're not as nice to you and they will just stomp
maybe
you.
you run into a 14-year-old me running out there going, like my favorite part of this game is just being so good at it, and money is not an issue because I'm allowed to spend my income on whatever I want.
Hmm.
And so then I would just come up with deck lists and build the deck list and be like, okay, this is what I'm going out with tonight. It's mono black and everybody's going to hate me, but I'm going to win for 8 months straight at every card shop in town for
Which is
months,
it's its own type of reward for sure.
right?
There's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
But there is a difference in mindset, and I think Commander should lean more towards what you were saying than the way I was in that time period, right?
Commander kind of let me get back into that because
Mm-hmm.
as I got better at games, obviously it wasn't Yu-Gi-Oh, but I think other games are actually at the end of my when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I was actually going to tournaments and like I had a but I didn't go with my deck. It was like my other buddies were playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh and they said, "Well, we'll build you an anti-meta deck that's really cheap and easy to build that's really good in the current meta." And it was good. I just didn't get I got teamed up with there or I got matched against all people who were playing garbage, so my deck didn't work regardless. But you figure out like the certain things like if you're playing in competitive scene and its own different thing, but Commander like really let me get back into that like, oh, I get to be a Timmy again. I get to
Mm-hmm.
play send triplets and have it work and not be like a toxic $500 deck. Now
Yes.
it's still expensive or whatever just because it's my entire collection that I've been collecting for the
For
past however
years,
long.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's just whatever I had that wants to go into it, and I make trades for that deck or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
And that's the thing though, is that like it doesn't work so well with Joda, but let's take a card like Tessa Karlov, right?
Okay.
Tessa Karlov, 4 cost 2/4. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. Creature tokens you control have vigilance and lifelink. So she's creature tokens and she's death triggers. That's her thing. Now, a player like me who's been playing a long time is like, yes, go get Blood Artist. Yes, go get Zulaport Cutthroat. Yes, go get blah blah blah. Right? Um, but if I'm building this and I'm like, I want to build something special with this. I want to do something not necessarily interesting because this kind of falls back to my first idea of Tessa Karloff is too played and too solved to do too much that's just interesting with her
I
doing.
bet you could figure something out, but I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Um, but if I were going to say, okay, I want to do something interesting with Tessa, I'm not going to go look up the cards that people are playing in Tessa. I'm going to go look up black white cards that just say when this dies, right?
That's how I've been doing it. Gatherer before Scryfall was really big. I feel
Hmm.
like Gatherer was great for that because you like I think Scryfall is way better at it now. But I
Yeah,
feel like 10 or 15 years ago, maybe that's too long, but take 10 years ago, Scryfall was perfect. You could put into exactly like what you're saying, or like, oh, I want these combination of colors. I don't want to play blue, and you could kind of like figure out all those little things. And I did the exact thing. And I don't know if I don't know if anyone remembers it. People used to comment on specific cards on Scryfall. They don't do that anymore. I think the comments are gone now because they reformatted it. But
yeah,
at one point they had comments and you could see what people would play with them and see what people were actually talking about, like specific cards.
yeah, exactly. And there's sort of this idea that like uh you use it as a platform and then you build off, but that's not what usually happens. I think what usually happens is you're like, okay, 80% of the Tesa decks are running Blood Artist. If I'm not running Blood Artist, I'm just running it badly, and then you add it, and then you do that again, and you do that again, and you do that again. The problem is that once you build that deck, now that deck exists on EDH Rec as one of the Tesa decks, and it ups all those cards' numbers by one.
Yeah, it feeds back into it. So like a card might not even necessarily be the best choice, and seems like that because someone copies someone else who copies someone else who copies someone else, and
Exactly.
then
And that was one of the things that happened. Like, and this is in Commander, this was in Standard, but that black deck that I won so much with, right?
hmm
The reason why I won so much is it was the end life cycle of Phyrexian Obliterator on its first run through. Uh,
gross.
yeah, I know. You're welcome. Um, the first run of Phyrexian Obliterator through Standard back in the day,
Ugh.
and uh, it was it was already kind of out of rotation for most people because there was a red card at the time. It was like four in a red, and it had the ability of target creature deals its damage to itself. So if you played Phyrexian Obliterator, people would sideboard in this red card, hit you with your own Phyrexian Obliterator essentially, and then make you sacrifice that many permanents and the Phyrexian Obliterator dies, right? So people were just getting you with your own card. Understandable. So people stopped playing it in Standard. Well, once people stopped playing it in Standard, people weren't sideboarding for it anymore. So by the time I came around to start playing it, no one was playing the red card in their sideboard to stop it. And they were like, well, how long is this deck going to be legal? And I said, oh, 6 months, 8 months. And they were like, it's not worth it to sideboard against you.
Oh jeez. So
And
you
I,
just got free wins for
so
6 or 8 months,
so I just
basically.
got free wins for 6 or 8 months, basically, even at bigger tournaments, even at like major events. And I felt a little bad about it because people were just like, I wasn't expecting anybody to be playing Phyrexian Obliterator in June, because it was so close to rotation. And I'm like, well, that's your fault. Like you
Yeah.
didn't get ready for it. But that's exactly the problem with homogenizing lists, right? Is that if you get too close to this idea, and like we said earlier, Tessa Karlov, in my mind, is pretty close to a card that's close to solved, right?
hmm
Um, but that being said, if you approach her without EDH Rec to be like, here's 700 decks that literally have the exact same deck list except for maybe one or two cards, then you might be able to come up with something cool about her. You might be able to see something about the creature tokens having vigilance and lifelink that maybe you hadn't thought of before. Here's something interesting that I just came up with. Teysa Karlov as the leader of a heir apparent deck.
Oh, that how fun! Yeah, that's cool. And then he's like, "My rabbits go forth as you die. You will be in
Right.
a place."
Teysa, human advisor of the rabbits. Uh,
Yeah, no, that's a lot of fun.
okay. So like, but like that's the thing is that like unless you're looking to push the boundaries of a card, you're not going to be able to. And if you are using sites like EDH Rec to I would not ever start with EDH Rec as an enfranchised player. I would never start with it as a platform to figure out what I want to do. I would.
Not to figure out what you want to do. It's definitely a tool to be used
Mhm,
uh as like a supplement because I do think
mhm,
there is value, I think we
mhm.
both agree that there is value to see what other people like
Yeah,
to play.
absolutely. Well, here's another thing that I found out recently. So I'm a big Moxfield person. Moxfield, if you want to sponsor us, let me know. But I will say one thing that Architect has on you too while I'm here, okay? I know that the sponsor thing's probably not gonna happen.
I only
So
use Moxfield, by the way. You can sponsor me, not him.
yeah. But the one thing that Architect has on Moxfield is that if you put a card into Architect like Birthing Pod, they have a way immediately for you to click a button and find cards that are like Birthing Pod. So
Oh, I like that.
it'll show you Prime Speaker Xanathar. It'll show you that weird card from March of the Machines that kind of does the same thing except it's green. Uh, like those kind of things will show up on Architect if you click in there. So that's a really good way to find not only cards that everyone plays, but just to find cards that are enough like what you're doing to give
Yeah,
you something to do.
that saves me so many searches of trying to narrow down like keywords or like, oh, what did I want to say in the text box, because sometimes the text
Mm-hmm.
boxes aren't formatted perfectly like how you want to be searching for them.
Exactly, because some of the text boxes are 90 years old, or the formatting is weird, or they just do it slightly differently, right?
Yeah.
For your deck, preventing that damage and then healing it, or healing that much instead, are functionally the same, but they are two very different wordings that would be on two different kind of cards.
Right,
Okay,
exactly.
and because of that difference, they work differently in corner cases, but it's still good for you to have access to both of those cards, right?
No, yeah, absolutely.
So get on that, by the way, Moxfield, because I love you and I love your site. I love playtesting on you. So make that a thing. Um, but overall, the idea there is the same. Just be be willing to run things in your deck that aren't a part of the mainstream, and in that same vein, uh, play bad cards.
Yeah.
Play
When was the last time you went through your bulk? Go through your bulk. Look,
go through your
see
bulk.
what you got. Yeah.
So much fun to go through your bulk and be like, oh, I forgot this card was a thing that existed.
That's
And
exactly what happened when I was last making decks, because it's been a while since I've went through my bulk, and there's so many cards I didn't even know that I owned.
mhm.
I'm like, I have this one?
I wanted to
There's
go back
definitely.
to Shoulder the Apocalypse
Okay.
because I think this is the last one. We've been going for an hour and a half now, so I want to make sure that we wrap up in good time. Shoulder the Apocalypse, 2 and 2 black, Phyrexian Praetor, Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. This card, it's in the philosophy of play worse cards, but specifically, I want to. My philosophy has changed so that I want to stop playing cards that reward you for just playing the game.
Yeah, that's fair. This is just value. It's the most value that's ever valued.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played this in Commander, but this was like my, not my centerpiece, but it was like my rock. And I played like a hand destruction deck, discard. So I
Mm-hmm.
would just discard their whole stuff, and this in turn 4, Sheo would hit the board, and you have like 3 cards and you're very sad, you have nothing in your hand whenever this
You
comes
have
down,
nothing good, and then whenever you draw a card, you're also losing 2 life along the way.
exactly.
And
And
hey, every time I draw a card, I'm going to gain some life while I'm at it.
it's just so much value. It's like, oh, let's give it death touch and 5 toughness just because. Who cares? Legendary is not a legendary is not a debuff anymore.
It's not. It just isn't the debuff that it once was. And so, in that same vein, though, I like a lot of cards that we've talked about today: Rhystic Study, Grand Arbiter, uh, Sholdred. These kind of cards, I used to love cards like this because I came from a world where value was the most important thing. And so, in order to play standard, you should play cards with value. You played this in standard, right?
Yeah,
Like
no, I played
it's
this in standard.
it's a value thing. I played Phyrexian Obliterator because it was a value. Like
Yeah,
it's so good. Why would you not play this card, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Um, and I think in Commander we need to lean away from that, and especially with commanders that are the commander. Now, I mentioned Sonic earlier, and I built Sonic because it was Sonic. It could have said
Real quick,
anything on it. Yeah.
let me challenge you on one of those
Yeah.
cards.
Go for it.
Ristic study. Yeah, that's politics, man. You don't think that adds to the
I'm gonna tell you the 100% truth. There is zero politics in this card.
you
There's
gotta you
no
gotta pay
there.
one.
There is that's not politics, okay? I don't talk to the IRS man and go, okay, what are your politics like? You know what I mean? Like this card, this card, this card does not say anything on it. This card is blank. This card
Oh,
is this card is blank. Okay, so Rhystic Study, 2 and a blue. If you don't know Rhystic Study, I'm really sorry, or I'm happy for you actually. It's 2 and a blue. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you draw a card, unless they pay 1. Now, the difference between this and Grand Arbiter is kind of important, so I'm glad you brought it up. I would rather someone be playing Rhystic Study than playing Grand Arbiter.
or Cyclonic Rift. Like I think
Probably.
yeah.
But here's the thing. The thing with Grand Arbiter that makes Grand Arbiter feel bad is the last line. If it were just white spells cost 1 less cast, blue spells you cast cost 1 less cast, you could build a deck of big blue. You could build Azorius big blue dummies. It'd be really funny, you know. You could build a Azorius aggro deck that takes advantage of the fact that your blue white spells cost 2 less to cast, you know, and that would be really fun. It's not that part, but even if you're playing it in a stacks deck, all it would be is a mana reduction. It would be another piece of ramp in your command zone.
It really is just throwing off everyone's curve. That really is. It feels bad.
Right, because part of the fun of Magic is being able to feel really smart about your plays. Like you're like, okay, I sequence this perfectly so that I can play this.
Matt, the guy is reading a book on Rhystic Study. He's literally getting smarter on the card.
I'm getting to him. You leave him
okay,
out of
I'm
this
sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Ahead.
But like, it feels good to be like, okay, I sequence my deck exactly right so that I could, I can kill this thing and then do this thing and then do this thing, and now I'm in a power advantage spot. I've pulled myself out of parity or whatever, right? And then this card just goes no. It goes no. And you don't get to choose how it goes no. You don't get a choice in the matter. It's just, it says no, right? And there's nothing you can do about it other than spend an extra mana to kill it and then hope that that's it, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Well, does that mean that all stacks are not cool?
No. I'm gonna get to that. I am gonna pull back around to that. Although I will say people don't need to run as many stacks as they think they do.
That's fair.
Rhystic Study though, right? Rhystic Study does give you a choice. You do not have to pay the 1. You can give your opponent a card in order to do the cool thing you want to do during a turn. And yes, you might give them 3 cards. If you decide to go that route, that's on you, you know? But this to say that this card has politics in it is a gross misrepresentation of what politics is. Because politics assumes that you're like, I'm going to make you a deal, you're going to make me a deal. Like, it's like, okay, I'll let you draw a card off a
Yeah,
heuristic
like
study.
I'll play Font of Mythos, and then you won't hit me for 4 damage to my face, right?
A goddamn Fontamethos, I swear to God. You so for the people out there who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, uh we were playing a game last time I was in town, and Dan played Fontamethos. And then he wanted to play Fontamethos. He wanted it on his board. It's important to him too. So he put Fontamethos. He was going to put Fontamethos down, but he was like, "Hey guys, I've got this idea to let everybody draw cards and do all this stuff, but I'd like some reassurances that I'm not going to get hit." Now we all know at the table that he wants the Fontamethos on the board. He's not fooling anybody. We're not stupid. So I was just like, "What kind of assurances are you looking for?" He's like, that we're just chill, that we're cool, and we're chill with each other. So in my head, I'm like, okay, don't blow out your fauna mythos before you get a chance to draw off of it. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, don't destroy the fauna mythos because I want to draw cards off of it too. And I was like, yeah, I'll take 2 cards so that you can get 2 cards. Sure.
Just also to be said, this was like turn 3 or 4.
Yeah,
As
it's like
soon as I could possibly
it's
play it,
early. Yeah, it's
I'm
early in the game.
totally open. I have no. This
It's
is like the only thing I would have had. I could have
yeah,
played something else to make it more defensive, but I
sure.
was like, let me get a little bit of reassurance here.
Yeah. And so he asked for a little bit of reassurance, and I was like, yeah, sure. Because in my mind, I thought I was agreeing to don't blow up my Fauna Mythos, bro. I want this action too. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, okay. And so then we get to my turn. I have a thing. I have 4 damage on the board. It's early in the game.
He's got a
People haven't
crisp
taken
2 fresh cards in his hand that he would not have had if not for me. By the way, all right, continue, continue.
And so I swung at him for 4 damage, which puts you at 36, I believe.
Mm,
Yeah, 36.
I
And then
probably was at 37 because I played a lifeland.
yeah, I think you probably played the lifeland, so you're probably at 37. But I shit you not when I say that the table exploded from just Dan just being like, I can't believe you've done this. Like he hit me with the full brunt of the, oh man, I thought we were cool and now we're enemies forever and I just don't know how to feel about. And I was like, wait, I didn't blow up the Fontamethos. He's like, no, you hit me for 4 days. I asked you what you wanted me to do, and your answer was be chill. 4 damage is chill. 40 damage is not chill. 17 damage is not chill. 4 damage is chill.
Oh, that's debatable. That's debatable. All right, okay.
But back to Ristic Study. Ristic Study does give you that opportunity to do things, but it's not politics. You're not usually getting away with going, oh, yeah, I'll let you draw a card, but don't use it against me. Right? Because you can't guarantee what card they drew anyway. They could say, oh, okay, well, I won't use this forest against you. Or whatever. But the point being that, like, there's
No, I just said that because I knew
yeah.
you were gonna. I knew you were gonna
No.
pop off about this
No.
card.
No.
If we can do a slight, we could do a slight left turn right here. It's a funny. We don't even have to bring it up because it'll be a whole thing. But there's
Mhm.
actually a Yu-Gi-Oh card that I feel like is a very interesting. Just a real quick little microcosm of this. It's a
Sure.
Yu-Gi-Oh card called Max C, where
Mm-hmm.
without getting way too into it, Yu-Gi-Oh, you do a bunch of special summoning. Max C says anytime the opponent special summons, you get to draw a card. So you basically tell your opponent, don't do anything on your turn, or I get to have 8 cards
A
or
full
7
hand,
cards.
yeah, a
And
gigantic hand.
and this
And
card is so like divisive that it is on the online app. It's legal in Japan. It is not, and in Japan it's legal, but in paper English,
it's
it
not.
is not legal.
Yeah.
So they don't know what to do with this card, and it is It is not. It is like you're saying. It is not politics. It just
Mhm.
stops the game completely.
Right. I will say, first thing I'll say is that I don't think any stacks is politics. I think people conflate those two together. It is very rare that you're doing anything political when you're doing stacks. What you're really doing is just saying, you can't hit me.
You're just
Um,
putting laws down,
Now,
laying decrees.
exactly, and I mean, law decree of law is a bad stacks card, right? But okay, but you asked like what kind of cards are okay, and I want to bring us back. We can pull this together here, and maybe even pick this up another day because there's plenty more philosophies to talk about. With Ghostly Prison, Ghostly Prison is 2 and a white. It's an enchantment. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature that they're attacking you with. This is a prison card, and prison and stacks are the same thing. Don't let anybody fool you and tell you differently. Now, what I do think about these cards, about stacks and prison cards, and tax cards in general, right? If you're going to play them in a deck together that is leading toward a goal that you can execute, right? I don't think you should throw Ghostly Prison into any white deck just to be there, right?
Yeah, no, I
And,
agree with that. It's funny, this card was in a commander precon, I'm pretty sure. That was for it was like an enchantment commander. It was like
mm-hmm.
enchantments matter.
Yep.
And I think that's a great place for it in an enchantments matter deck. That like totally makes sense. It goes with your strategy.
So are you ready for my counter argument on that one?
You
You're
go
not
for it.
you're not wrong. I do think it belongs in Enchantment Matters. A friend of mine recently built shrines,
Okay, yeah,
and
I think you told me about this.
they built shrines with what's her name, Weatherlight Captain up front. Uh,
Okay.
and so let me just get that up on the board because I can't remember her name
Is it
right now.
Sisay or is it
Sisay,
Jora?
Sisay, Sisay.
Okay.
They built shrines with Sisay up front. Sisay is 2 and white. She gets +1/+1 for each color amongst legendary permanents you control, and she could pay Wooburg to search your deck for a legendary permanent and put it onto the field. With her less than her power, so you get her up to 7, and then she can search for any 6 or less uh, thing, 6 or less shrine, and put it on the board. Um, you know, cool deck. It's fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. But when I was showing them how to rebuild and repurpose towards something, I'm like, please take out Ghostly Prison and Ristic Study because I understand why you're running them, but you don't have to because you have Sisay. You're already running the best tutor for legendaries you could possibly run.
Yeah, you don't need to stall.
You don't need to stall too. Just win. If you win the game, you don't have to stall the game. Right? And at first they were like, oh, but it's just one. And I'm like, actually, that makes it more annoying. Because it's not a legendary permanent, so you can't get it with Sisay, right? It's an enchantment, but it's not playing well with all your other enchantress stuff because you're really just running pure shrines, right?
Yeah, you just want the shrines. Yeah, you're almost better playing like a 2 or 3 cost removal spell at that
Yeah,
point because it's you'd be much better off of like getting rid of something that can
right.
eventually still probably kill you if it gets big enough or
Exactly.
whatever.
If your whole worry is I don't want people to hit me for a couple turns, may I turn your attention to fog? Like, I know it sounds stupid, but like, if all you need to do, because shrines have so much life gain in them, why do you don't need to survive for several turns? You need to survive for one turn, because once people,
fog's great.
if fog will be fine, you'll be fine.
I wonder if the 4-cost fog would be good. There's a 4-cost fog that like lets you gain 1 life for every creature on the battlefield on top of it.
Yeah.
Could...
And then there's stuff like you could run things like Mughal's Valor, which makes it gives you a 1/2 white Mughal with lifelink for each creature that you already control, and then and then all your creatures gain indestructible till end of turn.
that card goes crazy.
right? It goes crazy. You know, you can run Grand Crescendo and keep all your stuff alive. You can run Heroic Intervention,
Yeah,
a
if
more
you, if,
boring way to keep all your stuff alive. You'll be
I think if
fine.
your commander doesn't say like add +1/+1 for each enchantment, or like
Hmm.
reduce the cost of enchantments, or like does something with that,
Right.
you're probably, like you said, you're probably better off.
And I also told them that they weren't running Cathar's Crusade. And I'm like, take out Ghostly Prison and put in Cathar's Crusade. Because
Yeah.
they are running Goshentai, so they are making 1/1 shrines every turn, right? So just play Cathar's Crusade and actually win the game, right? Like win the game. And uh you know, I'm not blaming this player at all. They're a new player, a relatively inexperienced player, right? They don't know all these cards, or if they did know the cards, they didn't think about them in terms of what they're doing, right?
I wonder how high Ghostly Prison is rated on EDH Rec
Right.
for
I'm
for that
sure
card.
I'm sure it's in a lot of decks, and I bet it's in a lot more decks than it should be. But I don't think that no stacks is the right way to play. I do think stacks have their place. I think it's mostly in bracket 3 and bracket 4. And I think that when you are playing stacks, you should be trying to achieve something. It shouldn't just be leave me alone for 13 turns. Leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. Okay, now I can do something. It should be I'm spending the first 2 turns making sure that people aren't attacking me all the time. And then I'm spending the next 5
Winning the
trying to
game.
win the game. Win the
Yeah.
game. You know? And I didn't run any of these stacks pieces in my Oops All Spaceship stack. I could have, and it would have played better. It would have had a better chance of winning, right? Because I could just put that stuff out, and now that nobody can attack me, let me go play with my toys, right? But that isn't fair to the people playing the game trying to actually play a game of Magic.
Right.
And I don't think it's fair to do that. I do think it's fair if you're going to play Grand Arbiter as your commander to go ahead and play as many stacks pieces as you want and make sure that you are leveling yourself into omniscience with multiple turns, swinging in with a silver dragon or something, right? Go for it. Live your best fucking life. I think that's a cool deck that people will like and people will be okay with. But if your whole spiel is just don't touch me, I don't want to be touched, I don't want to be touched, don't play Magic.
Or play worse cards, and then
Play
you'll go under the radar. And
exactly.
you
Or
just have to have a few creatures on the field so people don't swing at you all the freaking time.
right.
And then,
Play 30
yeah,
spaceships. Play 30
yeah,
spaceships and that's fine. Yes, I am running the common spaceships. What about it?
yeah. Why wouldn't you? You're playing spaceships
I'm trying to
just because
I'm
it's.
trying to win with Darksteel Relic here. I don't have time to play good cards in my deck, okay?
Yeah, I don't have time to play win conditions and send triplets. You put those in the deck. I
That's not
don't
the right
I don't
card. Darksteel Reactor.
I don't need a I don't need win condition. I don't need anything that does damage. What is that?
Oh man. Okay, I think we've hit quite a few things today. I don't think I hit the depths of the way this topic could go though.
No, yeah.
And
Maybe
I
next time we will structure it a little bit more so we can have to, or we can just keep going forever.
just keep
you
going.
know.
Just this'll be something we come back to like every week that we don't have something planned and just hit a couple more things about how things have changed in our life. I also talked a bunch. I didn't give you a lot of chances to hit me with a philosophy. Is there a philosophy that I didn't touch on that you have that you feel is important to you when you're playing Commander?
Um, no, I feel like just play fun cards. Go through your bulk. I feel like I hit a lot of the stuff. Go through your bulk. Open up a random pack here and there. See if you get any juice that you can add to your deck. Doesn't matter. See what speaks to you. And one thing I will say, I will bring up briefly is, I it goes into more just what we were talking about. playing these like offbeat cards and stuff, like you get like character to them, you know? It adds to your deck building. It gives you a little story. You gain these little extra connections with your cards, you know what I mean? And you get feels a little bit more personalized if you get to you know, have your team that no one else uses for real. Like I think about a card that is it's good, but it's not like great, and I'm sure people use it, but it's something I don't know if I've seen on a lot of lists, but Orcish Lumberjack. I just like him. I just think he's neat. He's a cool card. I put him in a deck if I have the opportunity to, just because I think he's fun. It's just a whatever common that's mana ramp, and it's really thematic. What a great this version specifically has the best flavor text. Wood is wasted in the dirt, and he's burning up
Wood
trees.
wood is wasted in the dirt. That sounds like a life philosophy to me.
It's an orcish proverb. Then he's a lumberjack that is, you sack a forest to get red or green. That's it's the most thematic. It's one of my favorite cards. He's so thematic. He's real cool. Just a little dude that can get you some mana if you sacrifice it and go in a bunch of different fun decks. He goes in my like big gruel decks or there's a couple ramp decks that I like to put him in.
He's very cool. Actually, I might end up using this card sometime soon. This is a very neat uh, situation. But yeah, I think that's good. All right. So this is what you guys are going to do. If you are watching this and you had a good time, or you're listening to it and you had a good time, leave a like, subscribe, I guess. Check us out, review us on whatever you saw this on. Leave a comment below saying wood is wasted in the dirt. And just be a part of things. If you want to catch me and Dan, Dan comes on my streams every once in a while. I stream over at the Purple Place. You know what I'm talking about. And we do sometimes we do set reviews. By the time this goes up, we will have just done more of the Spider-Man set, both laughing at the good cards and lamenting at the really good cards.
From what I've seen, it's gonna be more of the latter than the former. I
Oh,
think.
oh boy! So come in if you guys thought I just ragged on Ristic Study Hard, come to the streams and watch me rag on powerful cards. And if you want a powerful card ragged on, leave it in the comments below. I will rant about anything you want to hear me rant about.
Me
Uh,
too.
yeah. All right. Well, until next time, I've been Matt. This has been Dan. We are absolute casuals, and you are too. Have a good night.
Take it easy.